Hello and welcome to our channel, where we journey through the pivotal moments that shaped our world. Today, we're traveling back to an era where the heavens were seen not just as a scientific mystery, but as a divine map with Earth firmly at its center. For over 1,000 years, humanity's place in the cosmos was certain, comforting, and absolute. The Earth, our world, was the stationary center of God's creation, and everything — the sun, the moon, the stars — revolved around us in perfect, harmonious orbits. This wasn't just a scientific model, it was sacred doctrine, a pillar of faith that placed humankind at the very heart of existence. To question it was to question the divine order itself. This was the world of Ptolemy, a vision of the universe that held sway for centuries, backed by the immense power and authority of the Church. It was a beautiful, orderly, and deeply reassuring picture, but it was wrong. What happens when a single man, armed with a simple revolutionary instrument, discovers a truth so profound it threatens the most powerful institution on Earth? This is the story of Galileo Galilei, a brilliant astronomer, physicist, and engineer from Pisa, and the trial that put science itself in the dock. It's a tale of courage, conflict, and a cosmic truth that could no longer be ignored. In 1609, Galileo heard of a new invention from the Netherlands, a spyglass that made distant objects appear closer. While others saw its potential for trade or warfare, Galileo saw the heavens. He didn't just buy one. He rapidly improved upon the design, creating telescopes with magnifications of up to 30 times. Then, he did something revolutionary. He pointed it at the night sky. Through his telescope, Galileo saw things that no human had ever seen before, and they shattered the old worldview. He saw moons orbiting Jupiter, tiny points of light he named the Medicean stars. This was a bombshell. It proved, unequivocally, that not everything in the universe revolved around the Earth. He saw the phases of Venus, a celestial dance that could only be explained if Venus orbited the Sun, not the Earth. He turned his lens to our own moon and saw that it was not a perfect, smooth celestial sphere as Aristotle had taught. Instead, it was a flawed, cratered world like our own, with mountains and valleys casting long shadows across its surface. The evidence was undeniable, mounting with every observation. The old Earth-centered model of the universe was wrong. Galileo's groundbreaking discoveries provided the first real, observational proof for a theory that had been proposed decades earlier by a Polish astronomer named Nicolaus Copernicus. In his book, On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Spheres, Copernicus had laid out a mathematical model for a heliocentric universe, the radical idea that the Earth and other planets revolved around the Sun. But Copernicus's work was largely theoretical, a mathematical curiosity. Galileo's observations turned that theory into a visible, physical reality. But to the Catholic Church, this was not a scientific debate, it was heresy. The idea of a moving Earth directly contradicted several passages in Scripture, which spoke of the Sun standing still in the sky, or the Earth being a fixed foundation. More than that, it challenged the very foundation of their authority, which was built on an interpretation of the universe where humanity, and by extension the Church, was central. The Copernican theory had already been declared formally heretical in 1616, and Copernicus's book was placed on the index of forbidden books. They were not about to let this dangerous idea gain traction, and Galileo was its most powerful and vocal champion. For years, a storm brewed between Galileo's science and the Church's doctrine. He tried to argue that science and religion could coexist, that the Bible was not a science textbook, but a guide to salvation. He wrote letters, debated philosophers, and published his findings, growing bolder with each discovery. His confidence, and perhaps his arrogance, made him powerful enemies. The breaking point came in 1632 with the publication of his book, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. In it, he presented a debate between a supporter of the old Ptolemaic system and a proponent of the new Copernican view. The character defending the Church's position, named Simplicio or Simpleton, was widely seen as a caricature of Pope Urban VIII, Galileo's former friend and protector. The insult was unforgivable. The hammer fell. In 1633, the now elderly and frail Galileo, nearly 70 years old, was summoned to Rome to stand trial before the Holy Office of the Inquisition. He was interrogated relentlessly, threatened with torture, and accused of the grave crime of heresy for defending his scientific observations. The most powerful institution in the world gave him a simple, agonizing choice: publicly renounce his life's work and deny the truth he had seen with his own eyes, or face the dire consequences, which could include imprisonment or even death. Trapped, cornered, and fearing for his life, the old astronomer was defeated. He knelt before the cardinals and recanted. He publicly declared that the idea of the Earth moving around the Sun was a false and heretical error. He swore never more in future to say or assert, orally or in writing, anything which might cause a similar suspicion toward me. It was a staggering victory for dogma, a chilling message to the scientific community, and a heartbreaking moment for the pursuit of truth. Galileo was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life, but legend tells us that as he rose to his feet, Galileo muttered under his breath, "Epice movov," and yet it moves. Whether he actually said these words is debated by historians, but the sentiment captures the spirit of his legacy. Though silenced publicly, he could not unsee the truth. His trial became a legendary symbol of the eternal, and often painful, struggle between scientific inquiry and unquestionable authority. Under house arrest, Galileo was not idle. In his final years, he secretly wrote his masterpiece on the science of motion, Two New Sciences, which was smuggled out of Italy and published in Holland. This work laid the foundation for modern physics and became a cornerstone for Isaac Newton's later discoveries. Galileo's trial, intended to crush a heretical idea, had the opposite effect. It became a rallying cry for intellectual freedom, a turning point that ultimately helped ignite the scientific revolution and pave the way for the modern scientific age. The truth, like the Earth itself, could not be held still forever. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into history. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration. We'll see you in the next video.